What's up, guys? Orca's here, and today we finally got another video on the Clone Wars. Today, you guessed it by the title, but we're going to be ranking every episode from Season 3 of the Clone Wars. And there's a couple things I want to get out of the way. First is that while I was going over all the episodes, I realized that I had one episode severely underranked. So I had an episode that was in 12th place for this season, and I looked at it and I was like, how the heck is this 12th place out of all the episodes in season 3? So it went from ranked 12th in my season 3 ranking to putting it all the way to number 6. So forgive me if I get to like number 12 and I get confused on what episode it is. That might happen, but we'll just have to wait and see. And then that goes for 11th, 10th, 9th, 8th, and 7th as well. Might get a little confusing there, but I made a pretty big change for one of the episodes. And then I was going to just comment this on the season 2 ranking episode, but I did change an episode. So, Weapons Factory, episode 6 in season 2 was ranked number 8. I have changed that to number 7. So I switched Weapons Factory and then the Zilla Beast Strikes Back, which is season 2, episode 19. So I switched around I switched around episode 6 and episode 19. So now episode 6, which is Weapons Factory, is number 7. And the Zilla Beast Strikes Back, which is episode 19, I switched that to 8th. So those two episodes flip-flopped. The ranking for the Zilla Beast Strikes Back stays the same, but I have upped Weapons Factory to an 8.4 out of 10, which is an A-. So just switch those around, and then I'll get to the switching of, the episode that I severely underrated later on in this episode. But with that being said, I think I have those two notes out of the way. Let's get to the episodes, and I will be looking that way. That way, because I'm looking at the episode list, because I could get them mixed up. I don't have every episode memorized, which episode they are, but I will know them. I'm looking at the list of episodes, like I said, on the TV. So if I look this way, you'll know why. But anyway, let's get started. The worst episode in season 3, number 22, last place, is Evil Plans, season 3, episode 8. This one was close to being an F tier episode. I have it ranked at a 5.8 out of 10, which is a D-, very close to an F tier episode, like I said. And the only reason I would say it isn't F tier is because, 1, it has Cad Bane in it, and 2, the world building's kind of cool. That's the only reason it's not F tier. But this episode actually goes in line with the hostage crisis episode in season 1, where Cad Bane raids the Senate building. And it also coincides with another season 3 episode that I will discuss very close to here. Both are actually pretty close to each other in the season 3 rankings list for me. But this episode was just bad. It just was not good at all. It felt like complete filler. And I don't say filler a lot for this show, but this just felt like complete filler. I don't know what they were doing, but I think they had fun with this episode. I mean, it was cool. I watched the webisode featurette on this, and at least it looked like they were having fun with this episode. But for me, it's just not good. And I'll also be a lot briefer on these, episodes on the lower part of the list, so I can talk more about the episodes that are coming later on. Hopefully this video isn't that long like season 2 was, but it probably will be if we're being real. But anyways, that's all I have to say about this episode. Again, it coincides with Cad Bane, the Senate hostage, him freeing Zero the Hutt. The Hutts are very involved in this, so yeah, not much else to say. If I do arc reviews or episode reviews of the show later on. Maybe I'll have more to say. But with that being said, let's get to season 3, episode 3, which is Supply Lines. This episode actually is one of the first episodes in the show, and it coincides with the Ryloth arc. This is actually chronologically the first episode in the Ryloth arc, and I think it's either the second or third episode chronologically in the show, so that's pretty cool. But this episode is number 21 on the list, 6.7 out of 10, which is a C minus. I originally had this ranked a lot lower. I think originally I made this a 6 out of 10, but as I kind of organized my, like letter grades, 6 out of 10 is like, it's like a very low D tier episode. Like I said, a 5.8 out of 10 is a D minus, so a 6 out of 10 would also be like a D minus. And when I looked at that, I was like, no, this episode isn't that bad. So I upped it to a 6.7 out of 10, which is still right on the verge of a D plus. It's right exactly a low C minus, but I think it's still an okay episode. The Jar Jar stuff is annoying. It's possibly the worst Jar Jar we see in the show, and the humor is just really weird. It feels out of place. The stuff I do like about this episode, though, is that we see Cham Syndulla. We see a Jedi that we haven't seen before, Master Imagundi, and his captain, Captain Keeley, both have, metaphors about what happens to them later in this episode, which is kind of funny, but also kind of sad. Really, the only thing worth noting in this episode is the last stand Captain Keeley and General Imagundi have. It's a really honorable last stand, and I really love that part of the show. And a lot of people love that part of the show or part of the episode as well. It's an honorable last stand. I mean, what can I say? I'm a sucker for last stands, as a lot of other people are. That part of the episode was definitely like an A plus to an S tier part of the episode. I wish this episode would have only been focused on Captain Keeley and Imagundi, but unfortunately we had to have the side plot of Jar Jar and Bail Organa. They go to Toydaria, ask for relief. Count Dooku sends Senator Lott Dodd to, say that this isn't a good idea, that the Separatists will get involved if you do this, and Toydaria wants to remain a neutral system, so they don't want to, get involved with the war, but, since, they're trying to help, like, innocent people just involved in the war, they kind of sneak around and send relief as much as they can. And yeah, that's just kind of how it goes. So you have the plot A part with that, and then you have the plot B part with the ground war with Imagundi, Captain Keeley, and Cham Syndulla. It's an alright episode, but the Jar Jar parts and, the more political parts weigh it down, in my opinion. So that's why it's this low on the list. Unfortunately, again, like I said, it's number 21 on the list. But then in 20th place, we're back with the Cad Bane arc, Lil Cad Bane, Zero the Hutt arc. We have The Hunt for Zero, which is episode 9, 20th on the list, 7 out of 10, so a solid C tier episode. I like that we get Obi-Wan and Quinlan Vos working together. This is the only time we get Quinlan Vos as a main character, or even just a character at all in this show, and he's really cool. I like Quinlan. I wish we got to see more of him. Unfortunately, when Disney bought the show, the Dark Disciple arc, which was planned to be made in one of the seasons, was canceled, unfortunately. So it's just a novel or a comic adaptation. I don't know, but it's a book, whatever, and that's all we have of it. Would have been cool to see that, but anyway. Obi-Wan and Quinlan are on the hunt for Cad Bane. Well, not Cad Bane. They're just on the hunt for Zero, I think. Because, obviously he escapes. Cad Bane releases him. And I think the plot of this episode is that, Zero the Hutt will leak information about the dirty deeds of the Hutt Council. So he escapes. With Cy Snoodles of all people, that freaking one person in episode 6 with the long snout. Yeah, she's a main character in this episode. And that's why this episode is also kind of low. The Zero the Hut stuff with Cy Snoodles is like really kind of cringy and weird. It's just not that good. I remember when I watched this episode a while back before I watched this show in order again. I thought this episode was terrible. I thought it was one of the worst episodes of the show, but truthfully, it's not terrible because I do like the stuff with Obi-Wan and Quinlan and Cad Bane and like, you know, the secrets of the huts and stuff. That's all cool, but yeah, the stuff with Cy Snoodles and Zero the Hutt's kind of weird. And you know, there's like a romantic relationship between the two. So like Zero the Hutt like kind of gives her all this information she needs. He has like this weird like book about this or whatever. I don't know what it is, but he has like a tablet or book about like all the stuff the Hutts have done, and he can use that as leverage against them. But Cy Snoodles is on like a mission of her own that he doesn't know about, and she wants that information so she can deliver it back to the Hutts so no one finds out about it. So, or actually he has to get the book or whatever from his like father's grave or something. So when he does get it with Cy Snoodles, she turns a gun at him, shoots him dead, steals the book, and then gives it back to the Hutts, and she gets a huge sum of money. So she kind of, because Cad Bane's back on this mission too. He's trying to track down Zero so he doesn't do this. So he can, you know, get paid for the job and, you know, get the book back to the Hutts. Because they assign him to do that as well. But Cy Snoodles beats him out on a job. I don't think I've ever... What a twist, by the way. I don't think I've ever seen something like that. But, you know, good for Cy Snoodles, I guess. But this was just a weird episode. Cad Bane has a run-in with Obi-Wan and Quinlan Vos. They have a really cool fight. We haven't really seen a bounty hunter be able to take on Jedi like that since Jango Fett, so that's pretty cool. And it really shows the power scaling of Cad Bane able to take on 2 Jedi like that. Like, that's pretty impressive. I don't think he was really anywhere close to being able to kill any of them. Like, if he was on a one-on-one with one of these Jedi, I don't think he would have been as successful. But he still put on an impressive showing and was able to escape. He wasn't able to beat them per se, but he was able to put on a good fight. So, good fight scene. Yeah, that's basically all I got to say about that episode. Number 20 on my list, like I said, 7 out of 10. And then we get to number 19 on the list, which is called Corruption. This is episode 9 in the season, and this is a 7.2 out of 10, which is a C+. This involves Padme and Satine, a Padme and Satine episode together, which is really interesting. It's a more political episode. And honestly, there's really not much to say about it. I forget why like Padme even visits Satine in the first place. I don't really know. I think it's because Satine's having trouble like with trading and like delivering supplies to her planet because they're a neutral system. And while this galactic-wide war is happening, most planets have either sided with the Republic or the Separatists. So if you're a neutral system, it's not all that good for you because while this war is going on, you know, getting supplies and just stuff you need is hard to come by. And there's not very many people that are able to help you because the Republic isn't going to help you since you don't help them. The Separatists aren't going to help you since you don't help them. So it's kind of unfortunate for them. And they end up, you know, it's revealed that, you know, they are getting supplies from the black market. There's a school system that's like getting drinks from them, and they end up like putting a poison in it, too much to handle. So a ton of the kids and stuff get sick. So they have to go on this mission to like stop this, and they do. They put an end to the black market, doing business with them. And yeah, it was just, it was a meh episode. It's nothing really insanely interesting, but it was kind of cool to see like how Mandalore was dealing with the war, and like how they're, getting supplies and doing business with others, and, having to resort to doing business with the black market. Not a good thing. Obviously, this happened under Satine's back because she would never deal with the black market. But it's also cool to just see Satine. Like, a lot of people give Satine a little flack, but I think she's a decent ruler. Like, even though she doesn't want to side with the Republic, she still tries to do what's best for her people, even if, like, she's unable to do so. But, cool to see her deal with the black market. And, yeah, just, it's a whatever episode, but I still thought it was cool. Not much really to say about it. That's kind of why it's a little bit low on this list. Only a C plus episode, number 19 on the list. But then we get to number 18, which is season 3, episode 7, Assassin. And this comes in at a 7.7 out of 10, which is a B minus. Not a bad episode whatsoever. And this involves Ahsoka having visions about Padme being assassinated. So really interesting plot there. And so she kind of, gets on Padme's side, like, I'm not going to let this happen to Padme. I can sense that you're in danger, so I'm going to be with you. And it really shows how close, like, Ahsoka and Padme have become, so, as friends, and I really like to see that. Yeah, and it turns out the assassinator is Aura Singh, who actually survives the crash of her ship in the last season for the finale, so she ends up surviving that. So yeah, Ahsoka and Padme are able to stop the assassin, and that's basically really all there is. Pretty standard episode, but I still thought it was cool. One of the best Ahsoka character growth episodes. She kind of learns to trust her premonitions and, goes about the right way of dealing with it. She has a talk with Yoda in the beginning of the episode, and it really mirrors Anakin's, meeting with Yoda about Padme in Revenge of the Sith. They're both like really, they both mirror each other. Both Ahsoka and Anakin meet with Yoda about, Padme being in danger. So that's really cool. And I know they're like different scenarios where Anakin just has a vision of Padme dying in childbirth versus Ahsoka having a premonition about Padme being assassinated. But it shows how Ahsoka is able to deal with it. And I think that's really cool. And she's able to successfully do that. Aura gets arrested, which is weird because we see her, chronologically, we see her like immediately after this in Hostage Crisis. So I guess Bane must just release her from prison or something. They also kind of tie it in with, like at the end of the episode, after Aura gets arrested, they like are able to like trace it to Zero. I don't remember how, but they're able to trace this like assassination attempt to Zero because I think Zero hired Aura to assassinate Padme because if you remember in the movie, Padme was able to arrest Zero the Hutt for his involvement in kidnapping Rada the Hutt for the Separatists. So they're able to trace that assassination attempt to Zero. And yeah, really cool. And then obviously in terms of the timeline later, we see Cad Bane free Zero the Hutt. So yeah. And then we obviously get to season 3, episode 9, where Zero the Hutt's freed, and then all that stuff happens. But pretty cool tie-in. This is probably the most confusing chronological order of things, to be honest. But again, this is just a simple episode. Not bad. This gets 7.7 out of 10, which is a B minus. And then number 17, we have season 3, episode 6. Which is the Academy, and this episode follows immediately after Corruption, where Padme and Satine expose the black market. This involves Ahsoka visiting Mandalore as well, so 2 Ahsoka episodes in a row, actually. And that's kind of coincidental, but it happens actually both chronologically, I think, and this situation. So that's pretty cool. But it involves Ahsoka going to Mandalore, and she teaches kids about like, corruption of like leaders and stuff, and how it's important to expose your enemy and like question your government and stuff like that. So I think it's cool Ahsoka teaches that, because it is a pretty important lesson to learn. So yeah, she teaches all that to these kids. These kids, they're inspired by her, and they want to, go on these missions, and they find a little plot about the black market still operating on Mandalore. And they see like a hooded figure talking with the black market, and they're able to find out that this hooded figure is the Prime Minister, Prime Minister Almec. So they, they try to expose him, but they get Satine involved in this, and Satine is unfortunately kind of like kidnapped. Ahsoka has to save the day, and they are able to defeat Prime Minister Almec. They're able to arrest him, and this black market scandal is done for good now. So not a bad episode. I mean, it is. I did put it on 8 out of 10. B tier episode, like I said, so not terrible, but it's I feel like this part of this show, this season, is kind of why it's not like higher up on my season rankings list. I mean, it's better than season 1, 2, and 7 for sure, but in terms of like 4, 5, and 6, it's a little bit lower, and I feel like episodes like this are kind of why. I mean, again, not a bad episode. I just think it, holds the show back a little bit. But, still not a bad episode. Just not much to say about it, like a lot of other episodes. So, a little brief on that one. Just not much to talk about. But then we got season 3, episode 10, which is number 16 on the list, at an 8.1 out of 10. Another B tier episode, and this is a lot more political of an episode. It involves a mission, not a mission. It involves Mina Bonteri, who's a separatist, and Padme Amidala, who's on the Republic side. So I guess Mina Bonteri and Padme used to be good friends before all this separatist and Republic stuff happened, and they want to see each other to discuss the war and maybe even like have peace talks. But this is, I think, against war code by the Republic and separatist side. But they still want to meet and have talks of peace, so they kind of set this meeting up in secret. Ahsoka goes with her, and they're able to have this meeting. It's a lot of political talk about like what makes the separatists and Republic people so different. And you kind of see like Mina Bonteri and Padme Amidala aren't so different after all. Mina Bonteri, even though she's a separatist, which we kind of deem the separatists to be evil, Mina Bonteri is not a bad person whatsoever. She also wants like peace with this war. And she, she's not evil whatsoever. She just left the Republic because, she felt that they were doing stuff that she didn't like. So, and, she sees Dooku as like a, liberator of these worlds that don't like the Republic. So it's interesting. And it's interesting to see Ahsoka kind of learn like what the separatists actually are. Because Ahsoka, she's fighting this war. She only sees the separatists as like evil people. But then she meets Senator Mina Bonteri, and she meets her son, Lux Bonteri. And she sees like, these people are not so bad after all. And she discusses as much with Anakin later when he scolds her, saying that this was crossing the line, which is funny for Anakin to say, because, for Anakin to say this is crossing the line, I mean, you crossed the line a ton, hypocrite. No, but yeah, it was interesting. Like Ahsoka, speaks with him, is like, the sides, the separatists and Republic aren't so black and white as I once thought. So it's cool to see that. But we see, Padme comes back. They try to have talks of peace and stuff. and she mentions this to Palpatine, which of course is a terrible mistake. And we'll get to the second part of this mini 2-part political arc later, but yeah, this was just an interesting episode, and we'll see how it ends in the next episode, which I'll get to later on. But coming in at number 15, we have season 3, episode 4, which let me get to that here. Which is Sphere of Influence. And I think this episode is actually a really good standalone episode. Although another more of a political episode, but I think it's a lot more fun because we get to see Baron Papanoida, who is the new chairman for Pantora. And if you didn't know, Baron Papanoida is actually played by George Lucas in The Phantom Menace. So that's a cool detail. We get an episode about Baron Papanoida. And this episode kind of involves the Trade Federation's involvement with Pantora. Count Dooku is trying to get Pantora to join the Separatists, so he ends up having the Trade Federation kidnap or people who work under the Trade Federation. Greedo is one of the bounty hunters that ends up kidnapping the chairman's daughters in terms of leverage, in order to help, the Pantorans side with the Separatists. This doesn't work. Obviously, Baron kind of goes on his own side mission. Senator Chuchi and Ahsoka go on their mission. I just watched actually a breakdown of this episode. Shout out Sector for Nerds. Hope you're watching this video. But, it's kind of interesting. We never really established Ahsoka Tano and Chuchi as friends. But, it's cool to see them on this mission. But, it's a fun episode. I really like the action, the mystique of this episode. But, that's really about it. The Pantorans are able to get the chairman's able to get his daughters back. Chuchi gets leverage on the Trade Federation. And just a solid episode for sure. Pantorans are able to successfully, stay with the Republic. The Trade Federation, I think, had a blockade on Pantora or something, so they lift their blockade as a gesture of friendliness. We obviously know that it's not a gesture of friendliness, but just a good episode. I liked it, so it's an 8.25 out of 10, which is our first B+ episode and our only B+ episode, because once we get into episode 14, which is season 3, episode 16, this is an A- episode. So our first A-tier episode of the show at episode 14, which is the highest I think we get in this show, the earliest A-tier episode. If you look at if I look at season 4, 5, there is no number 14 on my list is not an A tier. So this is the only episode 14 or number 14 out of seasons 1 through 5 that ends up being an A tier episode. So that's pretty cool. It's season 3, episode 16, ranked at an 8.52 out of 10, which is an A-. And this is the Altar of Mortis. So finally, we're getting into some really good episodes. To me, this one's just a little bit slower than the first one and the third one. Not as much, really, insane stuff happens. We kind of see that the sun, is kind of tired of waiting to unleash his darkness. He sees that Anakin is the chosen one, and he can use them two can rule the galaxy. So the son kind of unleashes his darkness on both the father and the daughter. We see at the beginning of the episode, Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka are trying to leave the planet, but the son ends up kidnapping Ahsoka so that Anakin will follow after her and try to, release her. So, the son has Ahsoka kidnapped. He corrupts her to the dark side. Just a really fun episode for sure. We see, the daughter and the son have a fight. We see the father stop this, but we see that the son has grown very powerful, and he, kind of overpowers the father. And, the daughter has to save him. And unfortunately, instead of the son killing the father, the son kills the daughter. So there's a great imbalance with the force now. And, the father is very distraught over this. The father is really one of the most interesting characters in the show, in my opinion. This whole arc is amazing. I probably will do a video about this arc more in depth later. I don't want to get too much in detail because it's kind of complicated. I probably will watch this arc again soon in order to do a video about it, hopefully soon. But, I still have season 4, 5, 6, and 7 to rank in every individual episode. So it might be a while, but I hope to do this arc soon. But this episode, all you really have to know is that it's cool. Probably just the weakest one out of the Mortis arc. It's cool to see Ahsoka fight Anakin. Ahsoka kind of dies in this episode, but then the daughter kind of uses her life to save Ahsoka as she's dying. So pretty interesting there. And then we kind of see how that, affects Ahsoka's life later on in the show. We see that she's followed by Morai, which is kind of like, I guess, the spirit of the daughter. So interesting. And, as we get into the Ahsoka show, we kind of see how these, this will play out in season 2 probably with, the Mortis gods looking like they're going to be coming into play. So that's really cool. But that's all I have for this episode. And really, I don't want to talk too much about it because this video will go on forever. But just an 8.5, 2 out of 10, A-. Not the best of the, episodes, but still really good as it is an A-tier episode. But in number 13, we have episode 18, which is the Citadel episode. And I just watched this arc recently again. And man, this arc still holds up really well. This is the first episode in the 3-part arc. It comes in at number 13. 8.7 out of 10, A- episode. It's just really cool to see the Jedi go on these missions. All the stuff they go through. Like, I love like prison break style stuff, and this one's no exception. The Jedi have to infiltrate the Citadel, which is a really high max security prison that the Separatists have. And there's so much lore in terms of this prison as well. It used to be like a holding prison for corrupted Jedi that lost their way. And you can kind of tell because this prison's impossible first to get in, and it's even more impossible to get out. So not only is it almost impossible to get in, it's near impossible to get out. And it's really a troubling task for the Jedi to, face. It's really, a hard task. They have to rescue Master Even Peel, who got captured by the Separatists. And basically the plot is that he holds very valuable hyperspace lane information or Nexus routes, I think. And apparently, I think the Separatists need these routes in order to plan a good attack on Coruscant. That's why they want these routes is in order to have a good attack on Coruscant. But, Evan Peel has it. And then we see that Tarkin is actually his admiral or captain, I guess. It's really cool to see that. Really cool to see, Tarkin and Anakin's, first how they interact with each other. We see how they interact more later in this arc. But, really cool to see that. I really love the action in this episode. Very, very serious. I mean, they don't tone down the darkness of this mission at all. I mean, we see clones get killed left and right. First, we got Charger slipping and falling, gets electrocuted, and then we see Longshot just get absolutely decimated by an electrocution wall. It's pretty crazy. But this episode is really good. I like it a lot. It's an 8.7 out of 10, which tells you all you need to know. Number 13 on the list. And then at number 15 on the... Oh, no. This is... Okay, I kind of spoiled it, but this is where I made a switch. At number 12 on the list, we actually have Season 3, Episode 11, which is Pursuit of Peace. And if you know this episode, this is a political episode, and you might be asking, yo, why is this episode so high? This is a political episode. I mean, this season doesn't really get good until the Night Sisters arc. And honestly, I say to that, I think you need to watch this episode again, because I think you're missing a lot. This episode is so good. It follows in the footsteps, obviously, of episode 10, where Padme and Mina have tried to negotiate peace talks. And, Padme overlays this to Palpatine, and of course, well, that was a terrible decision, because Palpatine probably overlays this information to Count Dooku. Is like, whoa, we can't have the Separatists and Republic come to peace negotiations. Senator Mina Bonteri was involved in this? All right, well, you gotta kill her. So obviously, at the beginning of this episode, it's revealed that Mina Bonteri is assassinated. And of course, they try to pin this on the Republic. They try to say that Republic soldiers came in and assassinated Mina Bonteri, of course, even though it was Count Dooku and Sidious who are trying to play both sides and try to keep these sides at war with each other until the time is right. And yeah, it just kind of spirals downhill. But despite all this, they still try to have peace talks, and they almost do it. But then Count Dooku signs General Grievous to have kind of like associate a terrorist attack on the Senate or chamber. So he hires these droids to take out the power grid. And yeah, it was unfortunate, but But there's also another side plot to this mission where they want to lower clone funding, because obviously they want peace with this war. So obviously they're also gonna need to have safety and stuff like that. Padme has a really good speech, and it's the Republic is... the Republic is not good at all, because Padme, Bail Organa, and Anaconda Farah are trying to get them to support them, obviously. And some of these people just do not care about the clones at all. This really shows it's really accurate how it is in terms of in real life politicians, because these people just do not care about the clones at all. It sucks. Oh man. But it shows that there is still good in the Republic. People like Anaconda Farr, Bail Organa, Padme, these are good people. And yeah, it's just unfortunate. And of course, as they're doing this, the Separatist Count Dooku hires bounty hunters to try to take them out. One of them injured Bail Organa, who is going to make a speech on behalf of the bill. Padme ends up doing a speech on it. And yeah, it's a really good episode, honestly. I can't remember if, the power grid failure happens on Heroes on Both Sides or this episode's. I'm kind of getting them mixed up. I haven't watched these episodes in a while. But I just know that Padme has a really good speech. And, at the end of the episode, Chancellor Palpatine kind of has a really interesting remark. It's wow, the words of one senator is enough to sway the entire, Republic. And it's just really cool to see that. This episode is, I probably haven't done a great job explaining this episode, but this is probably one of my favorite political episodes in any Star Wars media. I said this when I watched this, but this episode, it does way better politics than anything Andor does, for sure. This is such a good political episode, and you can tell as I've ranked it number 12 on my list. An 8.9 out of 10, and a solid A-tier episode. That's nothing to sneeze at. I know it's not in the top 10 or anything for even this season, but still, that's really good for a political episode where literally nothing happens but politics, basically. Just a really good episode, and that's why it's ranked number 12 on the list. But then at number 11, we have season 3, episode 19, which is Counterattack, the second part to the Citadel arc. They're still trying to escape this prison. At some point of this episode, they kind of split up. Anakin has a squad, Obi-Wan has a squad. They try to individually search their way out of the prison. The original plan is that they're trying to find the shuttle that they first, or they're trying to find a shuttle to get off. Obi-Wan and Master Peel have a squad with them, and their squad gets captured for a brief minute, but they're able to escape. Ahsoka, Tarkin, and Anakin are in a squad together. They're trying to find a different way, and at one point, both of them meet up at the shuttle, but the Separatists are ready for this. They have a huge fight at the landing platform. And this is where Echo supposedly dies. And that was a really, rough moment. That was sad. I mean, you can see Fives as well react to this. I mean, it's a sad moment. Oh man, it's so good. I mean, you can tell what Fives is looking like and feeling even when he's under a helmet. It's pretty sad stuff. But in my opinion, this is just a really good episode. O.C. Sobek, the villain of this episode, I think is really good too. He's an underrated Separatist villain, if you ask me. When it comes to the Separatists, people will be quick to point at, obviously the big three, Asajj, Dooku, and Grievous. But, O.C. Sobek was a pretty good villain for this 3-part arc. And he's actually played by James Arnold Taylor as well. So, yeah, really good episode. I like the villain. I like everything about this episode. It's tied with the political episode, actually, for an 8.9 out of 10, which is still an A-tier episode. But, I mean, there's more action, there's more enjoyment, more entertainment, so that's probably why, even though they're tied for rating, I put it higher than Pursuit of Peace, which was the political episode. But still a good episode, originally in my top 10, but since, I moved one episode, it just barely misses the top 10 for season 3, unfortunately. But then at number 10, we have to go all the way to the first episode of the season, actually, which is, I think, what's it called? Clone Cadets. Season 3, episode 1, we get to see how the clones, specifically Domino Squad, which contains very notable members that we know, or clones that we know, which is Echo, Fives, and Heavy. Cut Up and Droid Bait are the other 2 members, but, they're not as remembered, unfortunately. But, Heavy, Fives, and Echo are kind of like the big 3. We see how this, Domino Squad, as they're called, they originally weren't good at all. Like, they were bad at working together. They were just bad soldiers in general. They could not pass the training. They were just bad. They're given 2 chances to, complete this training mission, which is called the Citadel, ironically. But, we see that they're really bad. They don't work together. There's bounty hunters trying to train them. Brick is like a really hard-nosed trainer, and Ellis is more like sympathetic and caring. And 99, we see in this episode, is like a defective clone. He tries to support this group, and it's really touching to see 99. I mean, 99's the GOAT. This is a good episode, as I said. 9 out of 10. A-tier episode, which comes in at number 10 in season 3, so it's good. But yeah, just a really good episode. 99 is able to convince Heavy that he should. Shakti is able to convince Fives and Echo that they should stick with the team. Droid Bait's like the only one that doesn't get a talking to. Cut Up has a conversation with Brick. Brick is like pissed at him because he doesn't take anything seriously. But he tries to like test him, and Cut Up is able to resist Brick, and again, Shakti she lets the team do another try at it. So third attempt, even though they were supposed to be put at maintenance duty, Shakti gets them another chance. Heavy was about to go AWOL, which is why I said he has a talk with 99. 99's the GOAT. He tells him to stick with his team, all that stuff. Just good. They're able to pass the third attempt, even though Britt kind of cheats it. He makes the training assignment a lot harder for them, but they pass anyway. Just a feel-good story for sure. I'm pretty sure this is actually chronologically the first or second episode in the show, or like something. It's one of the first episodes in the show as well. Same with Supply Lines, which we talked about. So interesting that season 3 has like two of the first chronological episodes, but this is a really good episode. And I've said this before, but if you watch this episode, then you watch Rookies, which is season 1, episode 5, and then you watch season 3, episode 2, which we'll get into later, it makes for a really good arc, possibly one of the best in the show. So yeah, really good episode. I really like this clone-centered episode. We get a lot of them, but not a lot like this, so I really liked it. That comes in at number 10. So at number 9, we get to season 3, episode 21, which I have to go all the way back to. I'm pretty sure this is an Ahsoka arc. Yes, this is a 2-part arc with Ahsoka. This is Padawan Lost. Again, this comes in at number 9 on the list. 9.05 out of 10, which is an A+ episode. We're getting close to, S-tier episodes now. As you know, by my previous videos, S-tier episodes start at a 9.3. This is a 9.05, so we're getting pretty close. This involves Ahsoka Tano getting abducted by Trandoshans while she's on a Felucian mission, or a mission on Felucia with Plo Koon, the 104th, and Anakin. But she's kidnapped by a Trandoshan, and we see that these Trandoshans kidnap people to hunt. So this is a really weird concept. I mean, there's a book that's like kind of similar to this, where there's this guy that like either kidnaps or like enlists people to be on an island, and he hunts them down for fun. It's a really, it's a really dark concept, but it is interesting. These Trandoshans, hunt people for fun. It's kind of interesting, and they see it as a sport. So, the more gifted you are, like Ahsoka as a Padawan, or like younglings, they see that as like a sport and a challenge, because they're harder to hunt down and like kill. And again, they see that as a sport and entertainment, which is really dark. Yeah, really dark stuff that Ahsoka, who's like 15 years old or 16 years old, has to go through. That's freaking crazy. And she's able to, do a good job. She meets up with another group of abducted younglings who used to be Jedi. Khalifa, Omir, and then I forget the other guy's name. I have it on my notes, but she's with this group. They're like survivors. They just survive on this planet. But Ahsoka's like, no, we need to find a way off this planet. And these younglings have tried, but they've kind of just like given up. But Ahsoka is determined, and she kind of like tries to get them to. Unfortunately, Khalifa gets killed, and man, they are not afraid to stray away from this stuff whatsoever. I think these younglings now are about the same age, maybe even older than Ahsoka, but to see Khalifa get shot down like that, man, this show does not stray away from violence and dark moments whatsoever, bro. Oh my goodness, like, it's actually a sad moment when Khalifa gets shot down. Like, holy shoot. This show, man, I mean, man, this is not a kid's show, man. I really like this episode, though. These 2 episodes are perhaps the greatest character building for Ahsoka, besides possibly her season 5 arc and her season 7 arc. This one I would definitely put in as some of the best Ahsoka episodes for sure. I mean, they're so good for sure. I mean, I really like this episode. And then we'll get to the second part of this episode or arc later on. But this episode was a really good start. Ahsoka's character building. Also seeing Anakin like be worried for her. He does everything to try to find her. But, you know, they have to go back to Coruscant, and even while he's at Coruscant, he's still trying to find ways to find her. And we see Plo Koon as well be just an amazing Jedi. You know, he comforts Anakin. He tells him that, you know, if you've trained her well, she will take care of herself and find her way back to you. Like, just good stuff, man. And it really shows the difference between Anakin and Plo Koon. Plo Koon is still one of the better Jedi in the Order, in my opinion. And yeah, this episode showed it. I love this episode 100%. That comes in at number 9, like I said. So at number 8, we have the season, but we got episode 13, which is titled Monster. This is a 9.1 out of 10, so another A+ episode. And this is the Night Sisters arc. A lot of people consider this arc to be the start of where Clone Wars absolutely gets really good. And in a way, I kind of agree with that. I think we got, like, before this episode, we still had amazing episodes in season 1, 2, and even early season 3. But this episode, I could agree, this is where it gets, like, absolutely consistently amazing. I mean, after this episode, after the Night Sisters arc, everything is almost amazing. Especially when you get into season 4 as well. This is where they really pick up their footing and like are able to make amazing arcs, amazing episodes and stuff like that consistently. So yeah, this episode's really good. 2-parter. It's the second part of the Night Sisters arc. The Night Sisters, want to train, like they want to control another powerful Force sensitive because they want to get revenge on what Dooku did to Ventress in the first part. So they have to find a worthy apprentice for Dooku, and Asajj goes through like this whole thing where she kind of like has to find one, and she eventually settles on someone named Savage Opress. But before that, she has like a whole test and stuff with a bunch of Night Brothers, which are Zabraks. Savage has a brother with him as well, and you can see how like Savage, he seemed like a generally good person during this, and he really cares for his brother. And it's just unfortunate to see like what Ventress and the Night Sisters do to him. And as much as I have my issues with Dave Filoni now, he nailed this perfectly in the webisode or featurette or whatever, where he's like, Ventress is by all means a victim, and she's a victim by Dooku, but instead of being good, I mean, obviously all she knows right now is evil, so she does the exact same thing to Savage as what Dooku did to her. And she still has a long way to go where she's able to let go of the past and become a better person. But right now, she's still by all means evil for sure. And we see that in this episode where she absolutely, is very, what do you call, just plain mean evil to these Night Brothers. I mean, she kills a few just to, do this test. She belittles them. And when she finds the right person, she obviously picks Savage as he's worthy enough. They do this Night Sister magic on him, and he transforms into an absolute monster. They basically do a Frankenstein on him. Like, he becomes this absolute brutal monster who's so powerful. And for the final test, they make him kill his brother. Like, man, that's dark. Holy shoot. He, crushes his windpipe with his bare hand, not even a force choke. He literally just rises him off the ground with his bare hand and crushes his windpipe. Like, man, that's dark. Oh, man. This season, this season is where it really gets dark. I mean, we had some moments in season 1 and 2, but this season, man, holy shoot, they really ramped it up. Like crazy stuff. But I really like this episode. Like, as bad as it is to see Ventress do this to these Night Brothers, the action is really cool. The fight scenes are really cool. The settings and everything, just really cool. And we see, Savage eventually become Dooku's apprentice. And I think it is this episode where he becomes his apprentice and has his first missions. And when he goes to the planet Deveron to retake a base where 2 Jedis are at, he absolutely destroys the clone unit with Commander Trauma, and then he absolutely annihilates a Jedi Knight, possibly Master, and his Padawan. Man, that is so... I mean, it's bad, but it's really cool to see how powerful Savage is. He absolutely annihilates a Jedi Master without a lightsaber, mind you. He doesn't even have a lightsaber yet. He does this with an enchanted, weapon that Talzin gives him. And by no means is it on par with a lightsaber, but he's still able to defeat a Jedi Knight or Master, and then absolutely annihilates his Padawan, no difficulty. Like, this was crazy. And we get to see more of it later in episode 14. But man, this episode was so good. I really liked it as the second part of this arc. This came in, again, number 8 out of 9.1 out of 10. So then at number 7, we have season 3, episode 22, which is the second part and actually the season finale. This is where Ahsoka is able to get off this planet with the Trandoshan hunters, Omir, and the other youngling Jedi. I forget his name. I'm sorry. I'll check back and figure out what it is. But they're able to, get off this planet, but not without the help of a particular Wookiee. Yeah, Chewbacca makes a cameo, and this is like one of the only times in this show where it's actually truly a cameo of a beloved character. Like, nowadays we see a lot of cameos, like in the Obi-Wan show we see Qui-Gon Jinn, in the Mandalorian we see Luke Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano, but in this show, this is where it only really truly feels like a cameo that someone shows up. But it's not like it's just forced. It actually kind of makes sense, because if you know the lore, Trandoshans and Wookiees don't really get along together. So it makes sense that someone like Chewbacca was kidnapped and put on this planet to hunt for sport, as obviously Trandoshans hate Wookiees, so they try to hunt Wookiees for sport. And it makes sense that they do this with Chewbacca, because right now Chewbacca is like a kid or something. He's not like a full-grown adult powerful Wookiee yet. But yeah, he's still powerful. But again, he provides good sport for Trandoshan, so that's why he's here. But he teams up with Ahsoka and the other youngling Jedi, and they're able I think Chewbacca is able to use parts of the ship that he was on that Ahsoka and the younglings kind of destroyed. And he's able to scrap spare parts and use it to contact his Wookiee friends. And while Ahsoka, Chewbacca, and the Jedi try to overtake the main base by the Trandoshans, at some point it looks like they failed, but then the Wookiees and Shuggy come to the rescue. Yeah, Shuggy, the bounty hunter we see in season 2, episode 17, she's back, and it's really cool to see her. Again, I think I said in my season 2 ranking episode, but Shuggy is one of the only bounty hunters we see that's actually kind of morally good in some way. She obviously is still a bounty hunter. She's still mostly in this for the money, but you can tell, she kind of has a good morale to her. I bet there is some times where she probably took kind of evil bounty hunting jobs, but when we see her in this show, for the most part, she's actually taking good bounty hunting jobs. Right here, she's taken a job to, rescue a Wookiee and a Jedi from an evil Trandoshan ritualistic hunter association. And in season 2, episode 17, she's protecting farmers from pirates who want to try to steal their crops. So really cool to see Shuggy, again, one of the, only morally good bounty hunters. And we see her later in the show as well. And she's honestly one of my favorite bounty hunters, not only from the show, but possibly like in the entire, Star Wars galaxy. So really cool to see her. They're able to rescue them. Ahsoka takes on the leader, whose name is Garnak, I think, and is able to beat him. Just really cool stuff. And then when Ahsoka's rescued, Anakin's there, and man, the conversation. This is really what makes the episode so good here. Like I said, this is number 7 on the list, so pretty high. And at 9.21 out of 10, an A+ episode. It's almost S tier. And is actually the last A+ episode. After this episode, we get all S tier episodes. So yeah, really, really nice episode. Number 7 on the list. The conversation with Ahsoka and Anakin at the end is beautiful. And I watched the webisode featurette for this, but to see Yoda smile at the end of this, like, man, Yoda knew what he was doing when he put these two together. And like, at this point, to see it come into fruition for Yoda and he smiles at the end, just so beautiful, man. I love this episode so much. And like, again, like I said, these 2 episodes for Ahsoka is some of the best character building and some of the best Ahsoka episodes we've ever gotten. So yeah, really good episode, almost an S tier episode. But finally, we get to the actual S tier episodes. At number 6, we have season 3, episode 15, which is the first episode of the Mortis arc. And again, this is actually where the change I talked about earlier comes into play. Originally, you know where I had this episode at? Number 12. And when I was looking at this, at my notes and my rankings for them, I was like, wait a second. How do I have this episode at number 12? That's insane. Originally, I had this episode at an 8.87 out of 10, which is still an A tier episode, but it was below episodes like Pursuit of Peace, Clone Cadets, Citadel, the one Citadel episode, actually 2 Citadel episodes. I was just looking at myself like, wait a second, only one of Citadel episodes, but still, I was looking at myself like, how did I put this episode so low? And when I started thinking about all the things of this episode that happened, I was like, no way, I could not have this episode this low. So I moved it from number 12 on my list to number 6 on my list. And that's probably the biggest change I'll probably ever have in terms of, switching around episodes. Like I said, I did it with Weapons Factory in season 2. I switched it 1 spot, but this episode I switched it 6 spots, which is crazy. I don't think I'll do that for any other episode in the show, to be honest. So yeah, this was a major, oversight from me. I don't know how I had this episode so low, but now I fixed it. It's a 9.3 out of 10, which is an S tier episode, S- if you want to be technical, but still an S tier episode. 9.3 out of 10. This episode was so good. I mean, the Mortis trilogy, arguably one of the best in the entire show. So many people have this arc in their top 5, and I can't blame them whatsoever. Even I might have it in my top 5. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to do a thing where I rank all the arcs now. Man, I have so much stuff to do with Clone Wars, and it will probably be extended over a long period of time, but eventually I will probably get around to ranking every single arc in the show. But yeah, this episode just starts it off so amazingly. I love, the mysticism of it. I love everything about this episode. We see Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and Anakin are together. I mean, it's always good. It's always an amazing episode when we see Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka together as a trio. I mean, one of the best trios in all of fiction, if we're being honest. I mean, they put up a rivalry with Han Solo, Leia, and Luke, if we're being honest, for the best, Star Wars trio for sure. I mean, just awesome awesome stuff. Obviously, they meet the Mortis gods, the father, son, and daughter. And this episode, like, I mean, obviously, the best part of this episode is where Anakin proves he's the chosen one. He's able to, kind of like tame both the son and the daughter, and the father states that like only the chosen one could do something like this. So this is like really where we see Anakin at his full potential. I'm getting chills thinking about it. Like, Anakin full potential is able to beat both the son and the daughter. Like, only the chosen one could do something like that for sure. I mean, full potential Anakin, you all know he's the most powerful being in the galaxy, possibly weaker than like the Wills, possibly. Like, I would say like he could like full potential Anakin could even beat the mother, but like Anakin, just awesome stuff, dude. And we even see like stuff with Ahsoka and Obi-Wan. Ahsoka sees his master and they discuss Anakin being the chosen one. Ahsoka sees her future self, and her future self warns Ahsoka not to remain Anakin's student. And in a way, her future self is kind of right, and it kind of comes into fruition when Ahsoka leaves the Order. She's no longer Anakin's apprentice, and if she stayed Anakin's apprentice, she might have died in Order 66. So, really cool stuff there. Yeah, just really cool stuff. The whole Mortis stuff is amazing. Yeah, really cool stuff. I really love this episode. Yeah, I said I'll probably make an arc review of this for sure. Yeah, this episode's amazing for sure. That comes in at number 6, 9.3 out of 10. And then at number 5, we have episode 20, which is actually Citadel Rescue. This is the final part of the Citadel arc, and yeah, it really stuck the landing in my opinion. They're able to escape the Citadel. Osi Sobek dies. Unfortunately, Evan Piel dies. That was a really sad death. I mean, we see Evan Piel briefly in, I think, Attack of the Clones and the Phantom Menace, but we didn't obviously get characterization of him. Evan Piel is like one of the best, background Jedi we get, in this show. Like, we have the people like Aayla Secura who we get a little bit of story on, Ki-Adi Mundi, Plo Koon, obviously. But Evan Piel is really good in this arc, and I actually felt a lot of sadness when he died. Like, it's a very emotional scene. Where they have his like mini funeral and stuff, where they wrap him in his like, I think they wrap him in a Jedi robe, and then they like do a Jedi funeral, force him into like the lava fall. It's really it's really honorable. I really like that scene. One of the best scenes in the show, or not in the show, but possibly in the show as well, but in this arc for sure. Really emotional stuff. Evan Piel gives his information to Ahsoka as, the Republic needs it. But other than that, there's a really cool space battle where Plo Koon, Kit Fisto, and Saesee Tiin have to rescue them because obviously their attempt to escape on their own failed, so they needed a rescue mission to rescue them. But the space battle's awesome. Plo Koon saving them's awesome. The stuff with Tarkin and Anakin at the end is amazing as well. Yeah, this is just a good episode for sure. I really like this episode a lot. This is a 9.4 out of 10, so another S-tier episode, S- if you want to be technical. Yeah, just a really good episode. I was considering putting the first Mortis episode above this, but I think since this episode, has a conclusion to it and, has some finality and still a lot of good moments happen in this episode, I still put it higher because I think it really nails the end of this, arc. So yeah, that's why it's higher. But again, like I said, Tarkin and Anakin have their moment, and when they have their handshake, you can hear Anakin's Imperial March music play. Nice touch. I love that, where it's like anytime Anakin does something subtly dark, it's like, what are we, blind? Play Imperial March. It's like, it's funny. It's funny, but it makes sense. Like, I like that they do it. Like, it doesn't take me out. It actually helps. It helps the scene for sure. But yeah, it's funny but good when they do it. It's not like embarrassingly or badly funny. It's funny, but it makes perfect sense why they do. So I like that. And Anakin's motives in match with Tarkin's motives about the Jedi and stuff. It makes sense for Anakin's personality, especially when we see him in Revenge of the Sith and just how he acts in general in Attack of the Clones as well. Like, it all makes sense. It's really good, writing and characterization. And, to see Obi-Wan's, counter argument or, in defense of the Jedi at the end of the episode, just really good stuff as well. I mean, the writing of this episode, I didn't want to mention the acolyte in this video, but the writing of this show compared to the acolyte, night and day, man, night and day. I mean, holy shoot. Can we just get shows like this? Can we, I get it. I mean, this is George Lucas era, so obviously it's going to be amazing Star Wars, especially when, prequels, you can make your argument for them, but George wasn't directing these episodes. So obviously a lot of people say George works better when he has people working for him and doing the bigger work for him. I definitely agree with that. I mean, George directing, especially the first two prequel episodes, you can tell he needed help. But yeah, to see these episodes paired with, George's brilliance and geniusness of Star Wars, it just makes for amazing Star Wars. So yeah, really good episode. Comes in at number 5 on my list. And then at number 4, we have season. It's episode 14, Witches of the Mist. So it's the final part of the Night Sisters arc. We see Savage go on a mission to capture King Katuko of Toydaria. So we see King Katuko and Toydaria come into play again. So Dooku's salty that he lost Toydaria to Yoda in the first episode of the season. So he wants to capture King Katuko and force him to join the Separatists. So he wants Savage to capture him alive. So he sends him there. Anakin and Obi-Wan are on his trail after the last episode of him killing Jedi. So they go to the Night Sisters and ask him where he is. And I guess this is the only confusing part of the episode. I don't understand Talzin's game here. Why does she tell the Jedi what he's doing? I mean, I guess she's very confident that Savage is powerful enough with Ventress to destroy Dooku, because obviously, if you remember what I said, they trained Savage to, get revenge on Dooku. So I guess Talzin just really thought the time was right for Ventress and Savage to kill Dooku. But, I mean, how long has it been since Dooku has been training Savage? I feel like timeline-wise, it's only been at most a month or two. So I don't know how Talzin already thought Savage was ready when he's barely gotten any training. I know that your Night Sister magic really helped him out, but he's obviously still not ready to take on Dooku. So yeah, I don't know, but that happens. Dooku fights Savage and Ventress at the same time, destroys both of them. Dooku is so good, man, and I'll talk about him later in this ranking as well, because Dooku's just sick, man. I mean, after this arc, you can't deny that Dooku is literally insanely powerful. If you didn't think he was powerful in Revenge of the Sith, you would definitely think he's insanely powerful because of this show. Say what you want, a lot of people don't like his characterization in the Clone Wars for some reason. Because I guess they just think it doesn't match his personality based on Attack of the Clones. But I like this Dooku way more than his characterization in Attack of the Clones. I mean, he's just bad, if you know what I mean. Like, yeah, just a good fight scene. He's able to overpower Savage and Ventress. Ventress keeps on belittling Savage, so obviously he turns on her. And so, Savage is his own man. Now he's free from the Night Sisters. Kind of. But he's free from Ventress, at least. And now, like, he's his own man, kind of. I'm having the hiccups, sorry. But he escapes. He holds off Anakin and Obi-Wan for a minute. Just really cool stuff. I really like this episode. I forgot to mention the training scene with Dooku and Savage at the beginning of the episode. It reminds me of a dark version of Luke and Yoda's training on Dagobah. It's like a dark version of that, where Dooku's training him. First he trains him on lightsaber training, and then he trains him on just force potential and stuff. And, this is where we see Dooku, like, really be a Sith, actually. When he's training Savage, you actually see his Sith eyes. Like, a lot of people think that Dooku isn't a true Sith. But, he has moments like this where he really is a Sith, to be real. Like, yeah. This is Dooku as a Sith. I really like that. And obviously, again, it's revealed at the end, Darth Maul is alive. Savage goes back to Talzin. Talzin helps him and reveals that his brother is still alive. So we're led to believe that Savage is going to go out searching for his long-lost brother, Darth Maul. And that's just really cool, and that's also what really helped this episode, in my opinion. It might have been a little bit lower if not for that reveal, but that reveal I really like the reveal. A lot of people don't like that Darth Maul was brought back, if you watch this episode and be like, wait a second, Darth Maul is alive? That's stupid. I would totally understand that. But, after watching Maul in the Clone Wars, especially, after this episode, what they actually do with Maul in season 4, 5, and 7, it makes this reveal a lot better, in my opinion, that he is alive. Because when you know he's alive, and before you watch these episodes, and you see this is the episode where they reveal he's alive, you're like, yes, we're going to get to see Maul soon. Like, it just makes it so much better, you know what I mean? Just a really good episode. So yeah, that's why it is number 4 on my list. But now, at number 3... you've probably been wondering when we get to some 10 out of 10 episodes, because by golly, there's some 10 out of 10 episodes in this season for sure. Well, at number 3, we have our first 10 out of 10 episode, and it is ARC Troopers. Yeah, I bet you didn't expect ARC Troopers to be this high on the list, but yeah, season 3, episode 2, ARC Troopers is our first 10 out of 10 episode in season 3. S+ episode for sure. One of the best episodes in the show, obviously. There is a lot of more 10 out of 10 episodes later, especially when you get to season 4, 5, 6, and even 7. We still got a lot more 10 out of 10 episodes to go, but hey, as of now, this is now the second 10 out of 10 episode we've had. First one came at Voyage of Temptation in season 2, and now this is our second 10 out of 10 episode. And this comes from the Battle of Kamino. I guess, even though they failed the surprise attack because of the Rishi Moon incident, they still decided to attack Kamino anyway. Grievous and Ventress together. So it's a big battle when Grievous and Ventress are on the same mission together. But, they attack Kamino. They have all these Aqua droids and battle droids. Just a good episode. I mean, you get to see Obi-Wan battling Grievous, Anakin battling Ventress. Just a really good episode. I love this battle. You get to see Fives, Cody, Rex, 99, Echo. I mean, you just have the whole gang here. How can this not be a 10 out of 10 episode? I mean, just great stuff. And I mean, the battle is amazing. The battle's amazing. everything about this episode's amazing, but what really, makes this episode really good is 99. My boy 99. Such a good clone, man. One of the best clones. I love this episode because even though 99 is a defective clone, he's not like your average everyday clone. He outranks most commanders, if we're being honest. Like, he's better than most commanders if we're being real in terms of being a clone. Like, 99 is such a goat, man. He helps Fives and Echo. He helps Rex and Cody and them in terms of knowing where like more armory is, and helps them with guns and stuff. He helps them, gives them grenades to throw at them, and then man goes out like a G. They run out of grenades, and 99 is like, yo, I'm gonna get more. And I don't know who says it. It's either Rex or Cody, where he's like, 99, you can't. And 99's like, I'm a soldier like you. This was bred for. And man goes out like a G. The battle droids get to him. One of the most tragic deaths in the show. I can't remember if I cried at this death or not. I don't think I did, but man, I was definitely close. Because I'm almost getting emotional talking about it. Like, man was a goat, man. I think the only reason I didn't cry or get as emotional is because I feel like the death is kind of cut off a little bit. They didn't allow it to marinate. Like, as soon as he dies, we see Rex and Cody look at him, and as soon as like he kind of dies, Rex gets like a message from Shaak Ti or something, and like it's right back to the action. I don't think they let his death sit for long enough. Like, if you focused on it a little bit more, I think it would have been more impactful, but still, even as it is, it's still very emotional. And you get a moment later on where, the clones have won, where it's like, you did it, and then you see, I don't know who has him, but I think it's either Echo or Fives that's literally just holding him, and he's like, we lost a good man today. He really was one of us. Man, what a moment. Oh, it's so sad. 10 out of 10 episode, like I said. Even like I said, the battle stuff is good. Obi-Wan versus Grievous. We get to see Obi-Wan's tactfulness. The Separatists try to use a surprise attack by like having their debris fall into the ocean, but the debris is carrying a lot of aqua droids that are like setting up stuff for a surprise attack, but Obi-Wan reads it perfectly. Like, he's like, this space battle up here is too easy, and like all this debris falling down here, there's something not right. And Shaak Ti is like, what are you thinking? And he's like, I think I'm gonna go for a swim, and he finds it out. I guess the whole point of this mission, I think, was either to destroy all the clone stuff so they couldn't make any more clones, or to steal the clone DNA so they could make clones of their own. Because Ventress kind of like steals like a capsule that supposedly has all the clone DNA that they need, but Anakin like stops her. They have a battle, and Ventress gets the upper hand at one point because he kind of steals it from her at one point, so he's kind of distracted. She kicks it out of his hand. She tries to force it back to her. It's not Anakin that gets it back, but it's a clone that steals the freaking DNA capsule from her. And that's a perfect moment. Like, it could have been Anakin or Obi-Wan or a Jedi getting it back from her, but no, it's a clone that snatches it out of the Force from her. Just really cool stuff. The clone-centered stuff in this episode's amazing. But yeah, I just really like this episode. It's a 10 out of 10, easily one of the best battles in the show as well. Yeah, just an easy 10 out of 10 episode. But I will say it's probably the weakest 10 out of 10 episode from me in the show, because the other two are just that. The other two are just that good. If this was season 1 or 2, oh yeah, not by a landslide, but in season 1, yes, this would be number 1 by a landslide. And I guess there is a conversation to be had if this is better than Voyage of Temptation. I think it is. I would say it probably is, but that's a discussion for another day when I rank all the episodes in order. Ranking all the 10 out of 10 episodes is going to be the hardest decision for sure. But we'll get to that when we get to that. But at number 2 on the list, we have Season 3, Episode 12, I went the wrong way. This is called Night Sisters. This is the Night Sisters arc. I couldn't remember the title for some reason, but it's called Night Sisters for the Night Sisters arc. But this, again, a lot of people say this is where the show starts to get amazing, consistently amazing, and, in some way I can't disagree. Yeah, this episode's really good, man. I mean, this is where we see Ventress, is betrayed by Count Dooku, but it's not because of Count Dooku. We see first Ventress is in a space battle. Anakin and Obi-Wan are there. And as this battle is happening, we see Sidious contact Dooku, where he is actually, scared of Ventress and Dooku, and how powerful Ventress is becoming. Like, he's like, your apprentice. She's grown very powerful. And Dooku's like, yeah, she's very important to me. And, Sidious is like, too important. And he orders Dooku to kill her. And, Dooku, to his credit, kind of argues a little bit, where he's like, well, she's my most trusted, and, you can't argue with Sidious, man. And he's like, I said eliminate her. And, Dooku, I mean, you can't defy him here. If you were good enough, maybe you and Ventress could take him on right now, but I don't think you could. Because, Sidious is that guy. You can't argue with Sidious. So he has to order Ventress to be killed. And again, like I said, to his credit, I think Dooku, this was not an easy decision by him. I mean, there's an argument to say that, Dooku might actually care for her a little bit. Like, obviously she's important to him because he wants to overthrow Sidious and, take over as the Sith Lord himself. But, there's an argument to be made that, Dooku might actually care for Ventress. So, yeah, I really like that part of it. Just really good stuff there. But, Ventress doesn't take it so well. He orders her to be eliminated, so obviously she doesn't take that so well. She escapes the battle after having a pretty cool battle with Anakin and Obi-Wan, where at a brief moment she has both of them in a force choke, or Ventress is powerful, man. Where she's able to get Obi-Wan and Anakin at a double force choke. So, but eventually, Anakin and Obi-Wan do defeat her, as they should. It makes sense. I mean, yeah, we can't have Ventress beating Anakin and Obi-Wan in a fight, but she escapes the battle as a thing crashes into the part of the ship where they're at, and Ventress joins back with the Night Sisters. Talzin's pretty quick to come to her aid. She wants immediate revenge, so she gets two of the clan's most fiercest warriors to help Ventress beat Count Dooku. They do so much. I mean, this is the best fight scene we've seen so far, and possibly a top 5 lightsaber battle in the show. So what they do is they develop a poison dart to dull his senses, so he's weaker in the Force now, and he can't see and stuff as well. And not only that, they put invisibility cloaks on, so it's harder for him to see them. So not only can he not see them, his senses are dulled, so he's weaker in the Force. He can't see them, and what's the other thing? And he just got out of bed. He was sleeping when this happened. So they freaking attack him in his sleep, and he still whoops their butts. 2 of the Night Sisters' most fearsome warriors, and Asajj Ventress, and Dooku just annihilates them, man. What a lightsaber battle. One of the best in the show. I'm getting chills talking about it. I had chills when I was watching it. Oh, man, it was such a good moment in the show. One of the best moments in the show so far. But, there's one thing I haven't talked about. But we get Ventress's backstory. And honestly, it's a solid backstory. I'll give it that. I did get emotional. Didn't cry. But I got emotional seeing Ventress's backstory, seeing her as a child and stuff. The Night Sisters were forced to give her away to like either I think pirates or something, or like slavers or something. So Talzin had to give her away. She was serving her master when there was a pirate attack. So the pirates like kill her master on this planet. There's a Jedi there, assumingly probably helping the village, from being attacked by pirates. So a Jedi finds her. There's a pirate that looks like they're about to shoot the Jedi, but Ventress saves him, or force pushes the pirate off the balcony where they're at. So the Jedi sees this, and he's gonna train her to be a Jedi. So Ventress grows older and older. There's been years that have passed where this Jedi, I think his name is Kai Narek, where he's training Ventress for multiple years to be his Padawan. There's like a lot more lore to this story that isn't explained in this show, but there's a lot more lore to this, where like the Jedi don't help Kai Narek. Like he's kind of like stuck on this planet or something for all these years. And this is supposedly why Ventress hates the Jedi, but, apparently, like, the Jedi are just of little help to them on this planet. And while they're on this planet still fighting pirates, Kai Narek gets shot in the back by a pirate, and this is where Ventress turns to the dark side. Ventress, she sees this. She takes Kai Narek's lightsaber, finds the pirate and kills him out of revenge, and that's how Ventress starts her path down the dark side. Somewhere in the timeline, Count Dooku finds her, and she becomes his apprentice. And that's Ventress's backstory. Yeah, really good backstory. Probably one of the best, backstories told in this show, to be honest. Just really good stuff. This episode's great. I mean, like I said, just epic lightsaber battles, epic action, emotional flashback backstory to Ventress. The characterization for Ventress in this episode is really good. I really like it a lot. Before this episode, Ventress was kind of just like another background villain. In a way, she's just kind of like General Grievous, where they're just the villains of this show. They're the bad guys and they get defeated every week. But no, this episode, we get to see more to her, and I really enjoyed that. So yeah, all this makes it number 2 on my list. Yeah, just a really good episode for sure. But at number 17, you probably all have guessed it by now, but number 17 is Ghosts of Mortis. I mean, the best scene in the show so far. I mean, you cannot talk about this episode without talking about that moment in the show. And if you know what you know what I'm talking about. The scene where the son implants Anakin and what he will become. I mean, just an insane moment. I can't explain it good enough. You just need to watch this arc. I mean, such a great moment in the show. Oh my goodness, I'm getting chills talking about it again. Like, whew, yeah, that was good. And this actually, the son wasn't supposed to do this. He broke the laws of time. Anakin turns to the dark side for a moment. He's actually gonna help the son, but the father gets to Anakin first, erases his memory of this. And we just get to see the conclusion of Mortis. And man, what a conclusion. I mean, the daughter's already dead, so they need to stop the son, but they don't know. Anakin has like a thing. He actually sees Qui-Gon, and it's really a touching moment, and you can see how much Anakin misses Qui-Gon and how much Anakin really needed Qui-Gon. I mean, we know it, but if Qui-Gon was Anakin's master, he wouldn't have turned to the dark side. And it really shows from this episode how much he still loves and respects Master Qui-Gon, even though he only knew him as a kid. Just the everlasting impact Qui-Gon had on people, it really shows. And, just really good stuff, man. And again, the dynamic between Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka is amazing. We see the end of the Mortis gods. This is where all the rest of them die. The father dies, the son dies. Anakin's the chosen one. The end. I mean, I can't do a good job explaining this episode. You just need to watch it for yourself. And when you watch all the season 3 episodes, I think you'll come to the conclusion that this episode is at least top 5 best episodes in season 3 for sure. And for me, it's the best episode in season 3. Really not much to talk about. Just watch it. It's amazing. Anakin's the chosen one. That's all you need to know. This is Star Wars for sure. The last Star Wars video I made about the acolyte, this is not Star Wars. This is Star Wars. Oh man, just that's it. That's it. This is the best episode in the show. Not the show. The season. That's all I gotta say. And that's it. This is all the season 3 episodes ranked. Hope you enjoyed this one. Hope you stuck around for me this long. Over an hour and a half of me just talking about Clone Wars episodes. But if you like the Clone Wars as much as me, I hope you stuck around this long. If you did, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys so much. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.